The weird kid at school earned her reputation. Years ago, back in the days when my friend group was playing pitch and toss behind the bike sheds every lunch break, I met a weird girl who was lucky with coins. My pals warned me it'd be easier to just forfeit my money than challenge her, but she had nice blonde hair and torn fishnet stockings, so I said, let's go. She won, obviously. It cost me a few bucks, but I got her name, Kelly, and even made her giggle a few times. Wasn't long before we started dating. Those days, Kelly's parents weren't around much, so she fed herself with her winnings, and as she won more and more, people grumbled. They said Kelly was too lucky. Somebody even floated a rumor she used trick coins. Over the next few months, Kelly and I got serious. As she made more cash, she decided to upgrade her wardrobe and was soon rocking the full goth look. One of our teachers, a real religious lady, spent more time on abstinence than arithmetic, threw a fit. She decided Kelly was a Satanist and told her to get out of the classroom. The two of them had it out right then and there. Kelly eventually said, "You'll be sorry," and got this dark look on her face. The teacher just pointed toward the door. Later, the principal got involved. Turned it into this whole thing. The school board tried to call Kelly's parents in, but they weren't about to race down for a meeting about their daughter's education. Hell, they didn't care whether she had food. A deal got worked out. Kelly could sit in with the year below us that period. Different teacher, one who didn't give a about goths. Everyone was happy. Until 5 days later. Our gang was chilling at the skate park when a guy from school ran up and said, "Did you hear? Religious teacher died in a car accident." 2 little kids saw the whole thing, although they were too young to understand what actually happened. They just said, "A lady flew through the air like Superman." Everyone got really quiet. A few people glanced at Kelly, then looked away all nervous. We stopped getting invited places after that. People started scribbling on her locker, whispering behind her back. There was talk her parents joined a weird cult back in the 80s, and our classmates agreed the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. One day Kelly was in the bathroom and this older girl, Sandra, started it. She called Kelly a freak, pulled her hair, and bloodied her lip. Kelly gave Sandra this look like she was staring a hole through her head. Like she was casting a spell, someone commented later. People asked Sandra whether she was scared Kelly might use witchcraft to get revenge. Sandra said no. Magic isn't real. Kelly's just a freak. But a few days later, Sandra's gut started to hurt. She went to the school nurse, who rushed her to the hospital, where she underwent an emergency operation that the surgeon botched. One tiny mistake, a simple slip of the wrist, and Sandra never made it to prom. After that, nobody wrote in Kelly's locker. One evening, she broke down and said, "Those horrible things weren't my fault. I don't know magic or witchcraft or any of that stuff. I just get lucky sometimes." I bought a bouquet of Kelly's favorite flower posies and told her I knew she wasn't to blame, and that nothing had changed between us. We both said "I love you" for the first time and then kissed. It was a really sweet moment. A few years went by. We both graduated and moved away from our hometown to attend college. And all the while, we had these little blessings. 10 seconds after our car broke down on a cross-country road trip, a mechanic pulled up and fixed it on the spot, free of charge. Anytime we walked into a fancy restaurant, the host would say, "A table just opened up, come right this way." Shortly after graduation, Kelly gifted me an envelope. An early birthday present. There were 2 tickets to Vegas inside. We rolled into town and started with the slots, then we played craps, roulette, and blackjack. The chips piled up. We cashed out, checked into the luxury suite at a 5-star hotel, then went shopping. On day 2, Kelly was in a form-hugging red dress and diamond earrings. I was rocking a $5,000 suit. By the end of the night, we could barely carry our winnings. Kelly's luck afforded us a comfortable lifestyle and even paid for a fancy wedding which her parents skipped, but nevertheless, the good times rolled, and it felt like they'd never end. Until 5 years later, when they suddenly did. Kelly and I started getting into petty arguments. Those petty arguments soon escalated. We jumped from "what should we watch on Netflix?" to "when are we going to start having kids?" in less than 5 minutes. One afternoon, completely out of the blue, she demanded to see my phone, to see who I was secretly messaging. I promised she had nothing to worry about. She developed this nasty temper and started ordering me around, making me cancel plans last minute and nitpicking about the clothes I wore. I often found myself daydreaming about leaving. Things really spiraled out of control after I got a new coworker. She was my age, recently divorced, in terrific shape. You see where this is headed. One afternoon I left my phone behind, and wouldn't you know it, Kelly guessed my passcode on her first try. The second I walked through the door she screamed loud enough to wake the dead. Kelly was pissed. I goofed up big time. She told me to leave and gave me a look. I practically skipped out the door, happy to put our festering carcass of marriage behind me. Oh sure, it meant the end of all the little blessings I enjoyed while around Kelly, but that was a small price to pay for my freedom. On my first night in a cheap motel, while I was lying in bed, a sewage pipe burst in the ceiling, causing chunky, gravy-colored water to spray over my face. On day 2 a crow crashed through the window, flopped around with one twisted wing, then died right on top of my left shoe. I began to suspect my string of bad luck wasn't a coincidence. I suddenly developed this cough, and then one morning I rolled out of bed and spat a thick rope of blood. I rushed to the hospital for scans and tests, then a doctor came in to break the grim news. It was cancer. I needed a risky operation, pronto. I asked the doctor what my odds of survival were. He sighed and said, 50 to 50. The operation got the go-ahead, but I had just enough time to settle my affairs. Needing all the good luck I could get, I rushed out to the florist, bought a bouquet of posies, and sat out in the rain waiting for Kelly. She pulled up in a silver Mercedes. Turns out, right around the time I was sitting in a hospital gown waiting for a scan, she'd entered a radio contest and won. At that moment, a light bulb went off. Kelly's good luck wasn't a coincidence, she siphoned it. Throughout all the charmed years we'd spent together, we'd probably left a string of minor misfortune in our wake. And anybody who really pissed her off sure paid the price. I pictured a young Kelly arguing with her parents over bedtime, or whether she could have cookies for dinner. And after every temper tantrum, they'd stumble from one disaster into another. No wonder the pair of them cut ties with her. Now my good luck was gone. Evaporated. And I really needed it back. I got down on my knees, clasped my hands together, and said, "Babe, I want you back. I'm so sorry. I'm a stupid and you did absolutely nothing wrong. Please forgive me. I'll do anything." I buried my head in her waist and sobbed. Kelly folded her arms, tilted her head to the side, and got this look on her face like she was mulling it over.